Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel Starseed Voyager, and as usual I hope you're all well. So to the right of me I have my lovely friend Linda Moore, and so basically this video that we're doing is going to be on both of our channels. So Linda, if you want to just tell everyone who you are. You've been on before, but you know, maybe to new people that don't know who you are.
Right, exactly. So I'm also known as Leeja, which is why it says Leeja below. On the name of my channel is Potentials Podcast, and you can find me on YouTube and Patreon, and I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. So I like to talk about a lot of interesting things and repost a lot of things that have to do with just really wild concepts, kind of, I guess, what we would call fringe concepts. You know, I like giants that from other, like multi-dimensional giants also, right? But giants from other races that have existed throughout history that, we don't know what happened to them. And I'm kind of curious to find out. So I go down that rabbit hole and try to figure out what happened, why we don't have them anymore, where are they now? And I like the looking into the old world buildings and the architecture of all these buildings that are all around the world that look very much like each other. And why does that occur? Why did that happen? Why are they there? What happened to the people that built them? And I also like, I guess that kind of leads into Tartaria, which some people think was a one world um, kind of uh, not a race, but a one world type of existence or culture that happened at one time, and not so long ago, maybe only 200 or 300 years ago, and that there was a reset that caused it to go away, and we have now what we have, which is basically that we're tied to these mega corporations, and now we're kind of stuck having to survive off of these corporations because we no longer have the ability to just uh, be self-sufficient like people were at one time, and also because we don't have free energy like we had at one time, but we can. And that's what I like to talk about in potentials, is the hope of us being able to one day have these things back again, have a culture that embraces freedom, time freedom. Um, we don't have to, we can work, but do what we enjoy doing, instead of what we're forced to do. And a lot of the systems that are currently in place that kind of make us do these very stressful jobs that we don't enjoy can all go away, and we could replace them with, what we if we had free energy, we wouldn't need these corporations. We wouldn't need these systems. So the money system, if we had a different kind of money system, if we had a different kind of um, medical system, different type of schooling, everything that currently exists that is sort of keeping us in this kind of almost slave state where we're forced to live a certain type of lifestyle that's very unhealthy for us. So we can transcend all of that. We can get past all of that and move on to a much better day. And I think that's what we're doing at the moment. And I like to give hope for that. And I like to try to look towards the solutions of, and bring on people on my show that can offer some kind of hope or some kind of a solution to go in that direction.
Yeah. No, I love that, exactly. And you know, these giants, I mean, I believe they've been here way before even humans were even a thing. Well, at least on this planet anyway. I'm sure giants have existed and probably still exist elsewhere, on other planets, yeah, and other dimensions. I mean, if we're here and we're real, clearly, then we, again, humans, I believe we're elsewhere as well, and I've always been, I wouldn't say I had a huge fascination with giants, but I've always believed in them. I just intuitively believed in them, and I don't necessarily believe either that they're either bad or good, really. I think probably like, well, both really, a mix, I guess, like humans,
Like
some
humans,
humans
yeah.
have, yeah, good intentions and some have bad intentions. And we were talking a little bit about that, wasn't we? I think it was last night. And, the nursery rhymes, that was interesting because, there's some nursery rhymes.
Jack and the Beanstalk, for example.
Yeah.
Jack and the Beanstalk, it talks about, this kid who climbs a beanstalk and he finds a sleeping giant, and he wakes him up, and the giant, I smell the blood of an Englishman. It's like
Mhm.
scary, creepy, tries to make you feel like giants were evil and that they wanted to eat us and kill us. And I don't know how true that was, or if that was just programming to try to keep us from, wanting them to be around and to exist, because obviously we were coexisting at one point. There are
Mm.
definitely stories and legends of them living amongst us and having their own little culture and their own areas. And it's not even that far away. I mean, like, and that long ago. I mean, we can go all the way back, of course, to the Anunnaki. And when giants really roamed the earth, it was a different story, because I think the earth
Are
was
you
different.
talking are you talking about the Nephilim
Yeah,
giant?
I think it was a different time, because
Yeah.
apparently the Earth was not quite as dense as it is now,
Yeah,
and
that's
the
right. Yeah.
frequency wasn't as dense, and so things were taller.
Mm.
People were taller. Everything, there were trees now that we find petrified trees, tree trunks that
Yes,
are
huge.
enormous,
Yeah.
all over the place. So it was probably pretty
Mm.
common that trees were larger. We still have
Yeah.
very large trees in California, the sequoia trees that are enormous, and they're still here. So I don't know what it is about that area that allows them to continue to grow, but there must be some kind of, maybe it's less dense there for some reason. Um,
Yeah, maybe,
because
yeah.
then density can be different in different places. Yeah, I can feel the difference in frequency from one place to another on this, in this world, in this realm that we're in. So it's possible that there are still some
Mhm.
places on the world right now that are a little bit higher in density, and that places that maybe people can be taller there, like we were talking earlier about the races of people in Africa that are like tribes, that are, the entire tribe is very, very tall, and I can't
Mm.
remember the name of the tribe offhand, but there is, and they still exist, and you can go visit them. They're very, very tall, and it's not gigantism. They don't die immaturely. They're very healthy. um they're just very tall and slender, and I think they're the same tribe that levitates, like they jump, and then when they jump, they're like really high off the ground, and you're like, whoa, how are they
Yeah.
doing that?
I watched a documentary actually. You just flagged my memory. I watched a documentary on certain types of tribes
Mm,
that obviously still exist, and some of the I'm talking about the older tribes that are in the middle of nowhere on a small island. There's not many of them left now. They
yes.
they have their different ways of existing. They're into cannibalism and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and some weird things. But um, yeah, the interesting thing about this documentary was they managed to get some DNA from some of them and to look at their genetics,
Mm.
and they're not 100% human.
Mm.
I'd need to find that documentary. It was very
That's interesting.
interesting. Yeah, there was they had an unknown part of their genetics was unknown. They couldn't trace it to anything. So that was very interesting. And they do have yes, of course, they look very human. They're humanoid. But as you just mentioned, there's certain things that's different about them. What was it you were just saying just before I
Well, they
cut
were
in
able
about
to
that?
jump very high, almost like they could
Yeah,
levitate. Yeah. And they
yeah.
were and extremely tall and slender.
Mm,
They were very healthy. I don't believe this group were cannibals at all. If anything,
yeah.
I feel like they were more high vibe. They were very high,
Mm,
like a higher vibration, which kind of lends to them being taller. you know, because that there's something about that that I don't know, it enables your DNA to grow more.
Yeah, there's so many different types of these, these types of people.
Could also be
There's
the
what,
oxygen in the air wherever they are,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
the
because that
diet,
affects
the
how you grow as
water.
well, you know, and
Mm,
how it affects your body. Um,
yeah,
it's very interesting. I mean, I
mm,
find all of that, different races and how they came into existence and what caused them to become the way they are now and have the traits, all the different types of traits that they have. I
mm.
just find that so fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. I'll have to find that documentary. I think you'd really appreciate it. So yeah, that'll be probably a hard to try and find, but I'll try my best. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think who's been mentioning the Giants just of late. Well, I wouldn't say, it's a while ago as well, but it's the information is resurfacing again, and
Hmm.
perhaps Michael Salla or someone saying, that they believe that there are some giants. I mean, that I'm talking like the
Oh,
big giants,
right.
as
I
in
know what you're
the
talking. Yeah.
Nephilim giants,
The
proper
ones that are
giants.
in mounds, that are buried in
Yeah,
mounds, right? And they're uncovering them and finding
they're
them. They're
uncovering
supposed to be
them.
coming,
They're bringing them out of
right?
stasis or whatever that
They were
word
in
is.
stasis, right? They were
That's
kept in
right.
stasis for a very, very long period of time. We're not even sure how long they've been under there.
And
There's actually
apparently,
an account of I don't know if it's true, of
mm,
Abraham Lincoln
mm,
going to one of these mounds and actually viewing them. So that's
wow,
how long ago that we've known that they
yeah,
are there, because that would have been,
the
early 1800s,
yeah, yeah, a long time ago. I
yeah,
remember, yeah, hearing
mid
about that. And
1800s. Yeah.
mm. But
Wow.
according to some people, apparently they how can I explain it? They're meant to wake up around this time for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Whether it was prearranged or, way back, or it's in history, some kind of history books or tablets or something, I don't know. But
Yeah.
apparently there's just so much going on, isn't there, on the planet right now? And now we've got giants, waking up, apparently. I do believe in it. I've seen some video footage, and I know obviously we can't always believe every video we see, because I know obviously a lot of it can be, AI and edited and things like that. But the video I saw, in fact, I will try and find it, and I'll send it to you so you can
I
attach
think
it to the end
I
of
know which
this.
one you're referring to. Is it one where they show him laying in stasis and then
No,
they
it's not that one. No,
okay.
he was physically upright,
Oh,
standing on a mountaintop. He was huge, and
okay.
and and basically,
I
I don't
have
know
seen
how
that.
true this is, but basically, there was somewhere in America.
It was far from a distance that they filmed it,
It was from a
right?
distance, and this man, I don't know what he was doing around the mountains. I
It
think
was
he was
kind of
just
like a
right.
silhouette. I remember it.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was driving by, and he'd got, he was the one that recorded it. And then apparently, and then he was updating everyone through I think it was TikTok, and he was
Yep.
having some strange experiences. He was having CIA at his door, or someone like that turning up at his door, asking him questions, threatening him to basically, don't show this, don't speak about this. But he continued to. So he was like keeping everyone up to date with what was going on. I think he had helicopters at one point. He was being monitored and stuff like this. And then all of a sudden he just disappears off the face of the planet, and no one's heard from him.
How long ago was that? Wasn't it just recently, right?
It might have, no, it wasn't recently. This was probably 6 months ago, but it could be recirculating, how it is
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
recirculating. That's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it just disappeared. The last video he did was he had some agents. I'll say agents because I don't know if they were men in black, or I don't know who they were, but he had agents at his door, and he was worried. He was in like a motel somewhere, and that was it. He was showing that they were like, pulling up in black cars, you know, blackout windows, you know, hanging around where he was, and so he was getting freaked out, and that was the last video he posted, and he's not been heard of since.
I mean, he's probably either gone into some kind of hiding. I'm hoping that he's okay, but it's hard to say. I think that a lot of what they don't realize, this is another reason why they want to take down TikTok, is because when somebody posts a video like that, you can download it directly to your phone and you can keep it. You can keep that. So anybody that watches that video can download it. And I highly recommend people do this. If you see a video that you like and you know it's a little bit controversial and you're afraid it's going to go away, download it to your phone, save it somewhere on a flash drive or whatever you can on a, you know, save it somewhere on several devices. If anything ever happens to that person, you have it. At least you still have the proof, and you can post it, or you can, you know, post it anonymously multiple places. And the more people that do this and repost these, I do it all the time. I repost so many of these controversial videos. The more that we do this, the more voice that we have, the more power that we have to show people the truth and to put it out there and to put the truth out there. So that's why they want to take TikTok down, because they know that people are doing this and that they're saving the videos, because it's so easy. You just click download and you got it. And if so many people are doing this, how are they going to stop the truth from getting out there? They can't track down every single phone. I mean, they probably could, but if you've got millions of people doing it, that's a lot of people to go after.
Well, even if they think yeah, exactly. And even if they think they've got everyone, there's always going to be, you know, a few, you know, of these videos or information saved somewhere, you know, that eventually will get back out again. This is why we see so many old things being resurfaced now, you know, because I guess it's some of the videos, I guess, that people put away, or, you know, and waited for a day that they felt like, okay, now's the time. I think it's pretty safe maybe to
or
get
they
the
stumble
information
across
out.
it, they forgot they had it, you know. It's also, I highly recommend keeping it in a Faraday cage or Faraday bag, like if you are going to put it on a flash drive, because you know they'll try to get rid of, they'll try to, you know, hit us with EMPs, and that way all of the stuff that we've saved will be destroyed. And then of course they'll try to destroy all of our equipment with this, you know, so we have no devices to play it on. But you know, just if you keep things in a Faraday bag, you know, when we get our electricity back and we get our free energy or whatever happens, we will be able to restore everything. So just try to keep everything safe. I'm sure most of our viewers know this stuff, but I'm just putting it out there for people who don't. You know, Faraday bags you can find them on Amazon. They're easy to find, and they're not very expensive. So I highly recommend doing that. Also, you know, just don't be afraid of talking about it, because there's enough of us now. There really are. There's enough of us that are putting this stuff out there, and we need to tell the truth. We need to tell people what's really happening. Whatever your truth is, whatever you're seeing, you know, it doesn't have to be scary. It's not scary. It's, we're all going through this together. It's a transition is what it is. I liken it to going through the transition of giving birth. You know, when you're going through that transition and it's very painful and you're hanging on for dear life, and you're like biting down on something like, this hurts. But it's eventually you give birth to something very beautiful and to someone very beautiful. And that's what we're doing. We're giving birth to a new, beautiful world. And this is the transition that we're going through right now, and we'll get through it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and we're going through that, as you just said, and it's going to be a little bit turbulent at times, but we'll get there. We'll come out the other end. We always do, and I can't wait, really. It's just going to be. There's so much that's humanity, obviously, you know, the ones that are, you know, still, let's just say, asleep, through no fault of their own, of course. They've got a lot of unlearning to do, haven't they? And relearning. I mean, even you know, I'm not saying we're awake, we're woke. I hate it when, you know, people throw that word
Yeah.
around. No one is awake. We are awakening, and there's no end to awakening. So no, we're not woke. You know, we think we know a lot, and we certainly do not. I mean, you know, and we've been awakening for years, and you know, we've gone down so many rabbit holes, and there's just always something new to learn, to discover. And you know, yeah, it's just incredible. So it's exciting as well, because it'll be nice to see when we get to that point where we can just openly talk about all this, and know that majority of the stuff that's being kept hidden from us, or the majority of the things that are lies, and it's just nothing but our imagination, or you're crazy. You know, I can't
Yeah.
wait to the day when we realize that, oh yeah, okay, it's all real. What we're going to do with this information? You know, I just think it's I can just see in the future, you know, like a library, but not like the libraries we have now, but a library where all the truth is going to be there. So we're going to get to the point where anyone, even a museum, like everything, the artifacts, everything that's been hidden from us, the tablets, everything, it's all going to be on display. Even videos of, you know, people having discussions and talking about our true history, everything. Like it's free, and we can just go there and we can have access to it, and again, relearn everything. And I can see that. I do. I feel and see that, and I can't wait to that day. And there's not going to be any judgment. It's not going to be like, oh, you're crazy. And it's just like, you know, and but it's not either. It's neither. You know, we're not going to be like, I told you so. Either. You know, it's just going to be all there in the same place. You know, and just seeing the truth,
Well,
seeing
it's
all of
kind of
it.
like that now. I mean, we just have what's called the internet, and if you know how to use it
Mm,
properly, you'll find whatever you're looking for if you're doing
mm,
research. Now, the best research is to find the actual books, is to
mm,
actually find it, go to an old library that they have these old books tucked away. Old
mm,
bookstores, bookstores with old books. I mean, like there's a bookstore in my town that's a really old bookstore too. I mean, you can tell when you walk in, it's just everything is old. And there are these really old books in there. They're a little more expensive now. They've started putting up the price because people are asking for them. But
mm.
you find something from the 1800s, like before the Civil War, which is kind of hard to find nowadays. But
Yeah,
they're pretty accurate. Find an old encyclopedia, find things with old maps in them.
yeah.
That's another thing that they try to say is that the old maps were inaccurate. The people didn't have the technology we have now to be able to properly chart maps. Well, the people back then were a lot more. Um, they had they were a lot more studious. They really
Mm,
tried hard. They were to be accurate. That was one thing. Another thing is that the Earth has gone through a lot of changes in the past 300 years, 3 to 500 years. The Earth is it's not it hasn't even been the same in the past 50 years or the past 100 years. There's been some Earth changes. So when you see how that occurs over time, you know that some of those maps could be different because the Earth was different back then, because lands might have been slightly different, and things could have happened, in terms of earthquakes that changed the topography and the geology of places. So it's not inaccurate. Those maps are very interesting. They also show a history that we're not told about in school, that we're not taught. And as we've talked about, and I know that there's people that are aware of Tartaria and that whole rabbit hole that you can go down, and I have. It's
So can
fascinating.
you just quickly just give a summary of the Tartarian, because I that's new for me, and a lot of people might not know what that is. Just a quick summary,
I'm
really.
I'm going to try to put some pictures in here because then you'll see it. Because
Yeah.
once you see it, you can't unsee it. But there are maps from the 1500s through, I'm not sure how far back, maybe the 1700s, where it shows where Russia is right now. There was a land called Tartary, and it's spelled out
Mm,
quite, big letters. It was a huge area that they inhabited, and it was where Russia is now. And Russia was on the map too, but it was much smaller. It was almost like a little province of it. But the actual it was called Greater Tartary or Tartaria. It's spelled the different ways in different maps, depending on what country made the map. And it shows all the other continents very accurately where they are.
So the Tartarian, just quickly, is it's a name of I guess a place, a segment, a country, a continent. Okay,
it was the continent, and it was an enormous. It was a huge culture that actually existed, and it went like the entire continent where Russia is now, and down to where people call them Mongols. Well, they weren't just the Mongols; they were that entire region, and there were so many different cultures, just like there are within the United States. You know,
can you compare it to any other culture that exists now, or can you explain a little bit of their culture? What makes them different?
It seemed like from what I understand, what you take from the earth, you give back more. That was their logo.
Yeah, I like that.
It's kind of like the Zoroastrians who say, do no harm.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. And the Zoroastrians were not that far from that. They were in what we would now consider Iraq, or Iran, that region. So, and they were very ancient as well. So it's a totally different culture where they were not the way they were portrayed as the Mongols were very vicious, who went out and attacked people and warlike. And the Tartarians were not warlike.
Yeah.
They were more peaceful, and they had from what I understand, a very beautiful culture. The clothing they wore was not too different from the people that live in the region now, that, like maybe 100, 200 years ago, the way they dressed and the kind of folklore, kind of like the way the folk kind of clothing.
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Of Russia before it became, the Soviet Union, and before all of that happened.
So you think they kind of just got taken out again, a lot like some other similar cultures that existed. I can't think of the names right now, but like a takeover, or they've just
Yeah, I think it was possibly a gradual one.
Yeah.
I don't think it happened all at once. I think it was gradual, and then eventually just there was a death blow done to them that just wiped them out completely.
Yeah.
And then they just wanted to wipe them off the face of the earth, so they tried to get rid of. There was a book burning that happened in Europe, and I can't remember exactly where it was, but they were destroying. Oh, it was the Vatican. They were destroying a lot of what they claimed to be books that were heretical. The heretics had these books, and that's what they were getting rid of. They were getting rid of the history that the Vatican and the Catholic Church had taken over and changed, and then a lot of our history was destroyed that we don't know about, and they know about all of this stuff, and it's all probably underneath the Vatican, hidden under there, because as we know, there's a whole library under there. And hopefully we'll be able to get back our history. And there's just a lot of things that need to go down, a lot of systems that need to go down, and that's one of them. I also think that, like Russia, it's interesting because I don't know if this is true, but I'll just put it out there because I've seen it. The Russian flag, Tartary, if you look at the flags, which I also have a photograph of all the different flags that existed at one time, there was a flag that had Tartary on it, and it had a picture of what was called a griffin, which they claim is a mythical creature, which it probably isn't a mythical creature. It probably did exist, but is now extinct for whatever reason.
Can you describe what it looks like, or is it a bit too integrated?
It's on the flag. If I can provide you with those pictures and we can put them in this video, that would be great. But it looks like a bird. It's got a bird front with wings, but it's got the body. It's got the body at the back of it is like a lion.
Oh yes,
front of
I've got chills for some reason. I don't know why.
And
that resonates. Yeah, I just don't know why that feels very familiar, and I just got the whole body chills. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
strange, very interesting. I have seen it, yes, I
they've
have.
they existed apparently all around the world, not just in Russia and Tartary. They existed over
Mm,
here as well. They have pictures of them on buildings all over. All the
yeah.
really old world buildings that they haven't destroyed yet here in the
Mm.
States actually have, some of them have depictions of griffins on them. I
So
also don't,
that's what they're called, griffins then.
yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Peter Griffin and the Griffins of Family Guy are named the Griffin.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure there's a movie, isn't there, like a kids' family movie called The Griffin, and pretty much looks like what you've just explained.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
put it in our face all the time.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
do
So that, so it's
definitely.
kind of interesting, but that was, so that was their flag. The Russian flag is a man on a horse with a spear, putting it through a griffin.
Yes, yes. Wow.
I mean, what is that about, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
seems pretty clear.
Wow. I
So
remember seeing that, yeah, months
it
and months
feels
ago.
to me like it's, like it's. I mean, this all sounds conspiracy theory. I don't care, you know,
Me neither.
whatever.
To be able to
But
talk
it is.
about, there's
I
nothing
mean,
wrong with talking about, things that are considered not normal,
I find it fascinating.
We've
I
got
love talking
mine.
about
We
stuff
need,
that isn't
yeah,
normal.
we've got
Normal
minds. We
stuff
need
is
to use
boring.
them.
Who wants to talk about that? Right? I mean,
Exactly.
so this stuff is very fascinating, and whether if it's true, if it's not true, I don't even know what is true anymore. So whatever you want to believe, as long as it doesn't
Mhm.
hurt anybody. And I'm for the
Yeah.
Zoroastrians, after all. I feel like do no harm, as long as it doesn't do any harm. What are you hurting? I feel like them taking our history away from us did a lot more harm than us knowing about it and finding out for real what we could have had, and what we possibly, potentially, still can have, and hopefully will.
And for one moment, I don't believe that they kept that, not just that part of history, but every history. I don't believe for one moment that they kept it away from us to protect us, because that's one thing
Mm.
I do believe is they don't have humanity's best interest at heart, and it's I believe they hide a lot of our history. They lie because basically it's they're hiding their dirty work. They've done
Well, they wanted
something.
to put up these systems to control us,
Yeah,
which they did a
yeah,
very good job.
yeah.
They actually did. All they had to do was just wipe out enough of humanity to give us amnesia so that we don't know. Like,
Mm.
if you kill enough humans off, which apparently they did, if you look at the catacombs underneath, you know, in what is it, in France? There's a bunch of catacombs
Is it
underneath
Paris? Yeah.
a church there, and then there's catacombs in the Vatican too. So they
Mhm.
killed a lot of humans at one time, all at one time, and that isn't spoken of. That isn't talked about, because
Yeah.
it was long enough ago that we don't know. It was so many generations back that you lose the history, and that's what they do.
Mhm.
They know how to control that. Like, you kill off enough
Yeah.
people that you can control history. And
Exactly. And the whole purpose of that is because they want to keep our consciousness at a certain level, a level that suits them, because of course knowledge is power. And of course, if we knew the real history of everything, then we won't feel so small like they've made us feel. We'd start connecting the dots and realizing why we are much more unique and special and more powerful than what we've ever been, what we've ever thought and believed. They don't want that. They want to be the special. They want to be the unique and powerful. They want us below, at the bottom.
well,
We're
yeah,
the
they
children.
want to keep the power and not
Yeah.
make us feel
I
like
just
we
wanted to,
can't do
yeah.
anything about it. And that's the thing. They're trying to make us feel like we can't do anything about it. But there's so
Yeah.
many more of us than there is of them. So
Mm,
many more.
mm,
If we came together, and that's why they keep trying to divide us by making us feel like we're different from each other all the time. Because
mm,
the more they can make us feel like we're different, the more they can keep us apart and not come together to unite to fight them. And
mm.
I'm not saying fight them with, like guns and, do something violent. We can fight them with our consciousness, with just knowing, with just realizing and knowing what the truth is. And then what can we do about it? Well, we're doing it right now. We're putting it
Yeah.
out there and trying to make people realize that this is what's happening. And then if
Mm.
enough of us realize what's happening and just refuse to participate, refuse to go be a part of their system anymore. If enough
Yeah.
of us do that, they don't have a system. It breaks.
Yeah.
Don't buy from them anymore. Don't buy their stuff. That's
Definitely.
really how they control us, is because we
Mm.
are financially dependent on them. Just like
Mm.
anybody, just like anybody in any kind of a relationship where they're being controlled. How are they controlled, right? How are they being manipulated? They're with someone who is financially controlling them because they feel like they can't live on their own. They can't take care of themselves. And that's what they do on a global scale. Make us feel like
Mm.
we need them to survive. And if we
Yeah.
realize that we
Like,
don't need
like
them to survive, they
almost like they think they're our parents or something, you know, and it's like,
it's
yeah,
like, yeah,
we're little kids.
on a much a higher scale, on a much more global scale. Yes, that's exactly what it's like. They want us to think that they have our best interest in mind when they don't. They're like an abusive parent.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, trying to keep us under their control, only to abuse us even more, to make us do things for them that they don't want to do, and just be their little slaves when we don't need to be. We don't have to be. We can control our own destiny, and we can take care of ourselves.
We're
So,
independent enough. We don't need to be told that we're not independent and we can't. I mean, of course, we can survive without them, but you know, they just like to, you know, believe that they like to make us think and believe that we can't survive without them. So unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people depend on them and rely on them, and really they don't need to. It's just all illusions. It's
and
just, you know,
because we've done it for so long that
yeah.
we think that we can't see another way of doing it. If we can
Mm.
realize and visualize another way of taking care of ourselves, of breaking away from this system and actually taking care of ourselves without anything from them, if we can look at it that way, we'll be free.
Yeah, exactly. And we are free. Again, it's just illusions, isn't it? But you know, I love that saying, you know, the cage doors open, the bird cage doors open, but no one don't want to step out. They don't, because they're scared. But you know, we'll get in there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. So, but yeah, did you want to talk about the bit about free energy, or is there anything else you
Oh,
want to?
yeah, that was another thing that I find fascinating. I just have
Yeah,
to be a little bit careful about what I say because it's still not
yeah.
out there completely, about how to do it, but it is very, very simple. It's very simple. And there are people that have put it out there, especially on TikTok. One of my favorite people is Base Forge US. I highly recommend that you watch any of his videos on TikTok. Um, BASSFORGE US. Those are three separate words. He's so good, and he does explain free energy. He explains how to do it. There are other people on TikTok as well. There are people on Instagram. It's out there. Um, and there's YouTube people that have talked about it. They just have to be a little careful because YouTube will take them down. Um, but it, it's very simple. We can all have free energy. We can all. It's harder for people, I have to say, who live in an apartment building because you don't have your own land, and also because if you learn how to use this free energy, you could possibly give the whole building free energy, and then they're going to notice and they're going to probably knock on your door. So we're not at that point yet. Um, but it can be done, and everybody can have you can have it if you own a home and you have a backyard. You can do it. um, it's very simple. I'd say a copper pole, um, and some magnets with copper wrapped around them, arranged in a circular uh, pattern around the copper pole. There's some other details I'm not going to go into, but a lot of what we see, which is a little bit more interesting, and people do talk about it it's out there, is what was done, which is called Antiquitech. And you can look that up. You can Google. I don't Google anything, by the way. If you want to find any information that you can't find, and you Google it and you can't find it, you're like, why can't I find this? Go to Yandex. It's a browser. It's called Yandex. You have to type in, you have to Google it, but it's Yandex. And when you search on Yandex, it's from Russia. Russia is a lot more open. They will not, surprisingly, when it comes to anything free energy or things that we can't talk about in the United States, you would think it'd be the opposite, but no, Russians and their science has always been way ahead of us. And they are always been, especially with paranormal things, they've always been more willing to talk about the paranormal, about remote viewing and stuff like that. So they also talk about free energy. You can type things into Yandex and you will discover them, you'll find them. So I highly recommend doing that if you're looking for things regarding free energy. But Antiquitech, you will also find on Yandex. And it shows, and I think I have some pictures too that hopefully we can put in here. It actually shows how they work. And so why they were trying to tear down all these old world buildings is because they had free energy devices built into them. When I was a little girl and I would see them knocking down a tower off of a building, I would ask people, why are they doing that? That's so pretty. It's a pretty tower. Why are they doing that? And they were saying, oh, well, it was dangerous. I'm like, well, why was it dangerous? And they said, well, they were like lightning rods. They would just pull the lightning right down and they'd make the building catch on fire. It was a fire hazard. And I'm like, well, why would they build it like that? Like, didn't they know that when they built it? And then nobody would be able to answer that question. No, none of the adults would be like, I don't know, they were just stupid back then. Yet they built these gorgeous buildings that we can't even rebuild at all now. But they were really stupid and built lightning rods into their buildings, right? So yeah, that never made any sense to me. And anyway, so what they did was they have these copper rods, and a lot of people go in and steal this stuff now because copper apparently is very wanted. People want copper for some reason, and they can get a lot of money for copper right now. So I wonder why. Anyway, so what they had was built into these. They look like minarets, like the Victorian buildings. They have these little, almost steeple looking, like a church steeple or a minaret or whatever you would want to call them. Where at the very top there would be a rod that would come out, and sometimes it looked like a wind thing, like what do they call those? I
know what you mean. I'm trying to think of
weather vanes. Yeah, they called them weather vanes. But really, what they were ether, atmospheric ether antennas or collectors. So look up AEE. It's called atmospheric. But I wrote it down. Atmospheric ether energy is what it is. Atmospheric ether energy. If you look that up on Yandex, you'll find out what it is. And that's what Antiquitech is. So what it does is it actually literally collects from the ether, it collects the energy that enables us to run our appliances, if we had appliances at the time, which they might have had, which we don't know about because reset, make things go away, destroy all these old buildings and get rid of whatever's inside of them so people don't know what we had.
Get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we could run any of our devices off of them. We could probably invent new devices that we don't need to plug into walls. Possibly, right? Which could be why we don't know that these devices existed or what they did. If we find them, we'd be like, what does this do? Well, it doesn't need to be plugged in because we had free energy, so we wouldn't know what it does. It just looks like some weird paperweight or something, right? So it's very interesting. I find all of that interesting. What we might have had and could have had that we don't know because all of that was wiped out. A lot of people were killed that would know what that is, or they no longer are alive. And we can't ask them to find out. A lot of people that were orphans during a certain period of time. We don't ask why were there thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of orphans all of a sudden at a certain time in history, like right around
Yeah.
the turn of the century in the 1900. Suddenly there's all these orphans. Why? How did they get to be orphans? What happened? Why were there babies in incubators at the World's Fairs? Where did they come from? How did we all of a sudden get babies out of nowhere that were premature, supposedly? Seems kind of odd. And the people that were there, and we weren't that highly populated, weren't from America. A lot of them had come here as pilgrims, supposedly, but they were very well dressed pilgrims, and they were living in these cities in these big, beautiful homes that were very ornate and very, with hand carved statues that are we can't even do that today. If we did, it would take a long time to make them. Supposedly they were made in a couple of years. It would take us more than a couple of years to make just one of those, that were made like obsidian, granite. Really? Come on. I have friends that are artists, and I know how long it takes to make things. And it makes no sense that they have all of these hundreds of statues carved around them, intricately carved around these buildings. And it took a year, 2 years to make these buildings? No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. It's
No.
just ridiculous. It's blatantly obvious, isn't it?
Very, very.
Yeah.
So just use your common sense, use your logic instead of just believing what you're told. Think about it. If you're not an artist, talk to an artist and find out how long it takes to make something that's that intricate. Not just a little, something that they make for a necklace or, I'm talking about a huge statue and that has that much detail in it.
Yeah. Which I can imagine could take years. I mean,
For all of the there was more than one,
yeah.
like several of these, all like they were just part of the building. And
And also as well, just quickly as well, of course they have like pairs, they have statues in pairs and they're identical as well.
yes,
Like identical, like copied and
yes,
paste, and it's like,
yes.
yeah.
Did they have 3D printers or
Do you know
something
what? I
like
believe they
it?
did. Yeah, I do. I believe they
Could
did.
it be that they had something that we don't know they had? Did they have like diamond tipped, you know,
Mm,
devices that were able to intricately carve things? If you look in India at some of those gorgeous buildings and the details in them, what?
mm,
How? How could you look at them and it's just, how did they do that?
mm.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is, and it's plastered everywhere, all over the world, isn't it? And it dates way, way back to ancient Egyptian times. That era. Carvings everywhere,
Yeah,
and
back into Persia, ancient Persia,
yeah.
Babylon, Sumeria. It goes really far back, really.
Mm,
And
so,
I was going to talk about Turkmenistan. I will talk about it again, but Turkmenistan, if you look that up on Yandex as well, it's an area, and I have a picture of it, a map of it. It's not far from the Caspian Sea, Iran, um, that area, Turkmenistan. It's like kind of right above Iraq, Iran, all that area. Would have been ancient Tartaria, actually, interestingly enough.
mm,
And they have free energy currently. They currently run entirely by free energy. You cannot go to Turkmenistan. You can't visit Turkmenistan unless you have either a lot of money or you know somebody there. They don't just let anybody into Turkmenistan
yeah, for a very good reason.
for a
Obviously, they
very
keep
good reason.
it hidden. Yeah, they don't want us to
And
know about it because we might question things.
oh man, I have so many pictures of Turkmenistan that I got It's beautiful. And they have these giant statues that look Tartarian. They look like they're from that empire.
Mm.
And they have, uh, but they look like they're modern, like they carved them in, like as a sort of memorial to them. And
Yeah.
they have these buildings that light up. The entire building lights up, which is what we have
Wow.
photographs of those world fairs before those buildings were destroyed. They lit up
Yeah.
all by themselves. The outside of the building lit up.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
And you're like,
Like proper lit up as well. And people can't
what?
see an actual light source.
It
It's
weren't
just,
floodlights. It wasn't like
yeah.
little, like we have now where the building's lit up because there's a little floodlight on the ground. No,
Mm,
these were luminous, luminous
yeah.
buildings. What?
Wow.
I mean, it's wild. So they have them still to this day in Turkmenistan. And I
Yeah.
saw the pictures and I was looking at it like, it's just amazing. So so what I'm saying is modern day Turkmenistan is an inspiration because if they can do it, we can all do it. And we just need to become more like them. They have no wires. They have no like they have poles, a lot of poles everywhere, but they have no wires between the poles like we do here, like no electrical wires. So people are saying, oh, it's just buried underground, kind of like cable. Um, I don't. Why didn't we do that then? Why didn't we
Mm.
do that? Why do we have all
Yeah.
these ugly wires all over
Exactly.
the
Why
place?
would we have ugly wires everywhere? Like
And
just because they're everywhere,
right, and so
in
and
our homes, everywhere.
if that's true, then why didn't when we dug up all those, remember when they dug up all those ruts to bury the cables in for cable TV and all of that a
Yeah.
few years
Yeah.
ago or however long ago, the past 10 years? Why didn't they just do that with the electrical wires then at the time,
Exactly. Exactly.
if
Yeah.
that's possible? So no, I don't
Mhm.
feel like that's what it is. It's definitely some kind of etherical energy. And they have I have photographs, and if you go on TikTok, you'll see them actually videos of them
Mm.
actually collecting the energy and what it looks like. These
Oh yeah.
little
Seen
round
those. Yeah.
balls or these little um, whatever they are at the top of the poles,
Mm.
uh, they are the ones that collect the energy. Now, in Antiquitech, what was inside those little globy things, those little spinny balls, was red mercury, and they would spin,
Mm.
and that's when you spin red mercury, that's what causes the effect. Um,
Yeah.
that's what enables the free energy and the ether to be collected. So there are places around the world. There's one in Cambodia, which I have a photograph of. It's got these little almost wiry looking things that come out of the globe, and each point at the very end is all lit up, and
Yeah.
it's
I know what you
collecting
mean.
the energy.
That's what I'm
So there's
saying. So it's not just about this energy. Like you can see it. You can actually see the energy. It's a real thing. Of
yeah.
course. No. Yeah.
And I mean,
Wow.
we use energy all the time that we can't see. Like
Mm.
how does your remote work,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Does anybody ever think about how the remote works? I mean, you can Google
Exactly.
it and find out, but you don't see the energy that goes from your remote to your TV to make it turn on,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I always say to a lot of people, when they say, they don't believe in anything, and I'll be like, so you not don't believe in energy? They're like, no, and I've said this before, and I'm not going to say, but, I always say, well, do you believe in Wi-Fi? Do you believe in Bluetooth? Things like that. And they're like, well, yeah, everyone knows, I'm like, yeah, but can you see it? And they're like, no. I said, but it's real. And they're like, well, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just like it's there, it's real, it's in the ethers, it's in the air, it's all around us, it's streams of light. It's just that, our eyes aren't that advanced, that equipped enough to see them unless you sit there and actually put the right tools together and the right, things together to actually see it.
Right, the
Um,
infrared cameras,
yeah, and things like that.
technology that we
Um,
have now. But I mean, we have technology right here. We have crystals in
mm,
our brain. Um,
mm,
we have the technology. We are the technology. We can see
Yeah.
things if we really open our eyes. So it will get to that point eventually. I feel that we're just not at that point. We're not at that level yet. And I think that there are
Mm.
some things that are blocking it from happening. But
Yeah.
those things are going to go away, and we will be able to see things like we did probably
Mm.
maybe not even that long ago. We think it was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
maybe
And
as long as we think.
yeah, I mean, like crystals, they have their own energy, they have their own consciousness, they have their own energy, and they're very
Absolutely.
powerful. They use them in the pyramids, like you say with the pineal gland. It's been scientifically proven. I mean, I saw an article or something of them saying that, yes, and showed you we literally have a crystal in our pineal gland. In this human biological physical body, we have a crystal, and we are crystalline anyway to a certain point, but we're as we head into the future, we're becoming more crystalline, and people are already seeing their auras, they're seeing the sparkles in them. We're going from a 3D dense meat suit to, like, we're not going to notice it, of course. We're going to look the same, but we're going through a change. So we're going to go from a 3D dense, physical, how we are now, to being or just energy, crystalline energy. But of course, to other people, to each other, we're gonna. I think I'm pretty much, sure we're going to see each other as dense, but also not at the same time. So we're going to notice some things, and people are already seeing the changes within themselves. And yeah, I mean, that's a whole story time on its own. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
everything's energy. We're energy. Everything's energy.
yeah. And we're going to be going through a transition very soon. I mean, I feel like that's partly what this eclipse is about in a positive way.
Mhm.
It's going to be a very positive transition, and we need
Yeah.
to look at it that way instead of being
Mhm.
afraid of everything. Um, and I
Exactly. Whenever the elites or the deep state, the cabal, whenever they, create fear around an event or a phenomenon or something, it usually means it's the opposite. It's because it's positive and they don't want that energy or whatever it is to affect us. For instance, we mentioned, didn't we, with the eclipse, it's a huge event. It doesn't happen very often, and we enjoy it. It does something to us. It heightens our energy, it affects our frequency, and in a sense, well, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it does things to us. And these deep state, the elites, they know all this, and this is why they're trying to tamper with it. I mean, trying to fly, apparently, shoot rockets, but we'll see if that actually happens, into the eclipse, to try and stop it. They're messing around with CERN, which, if anyone's familiar with CERN, it's a huge mechanical energy thing. I can't think of another way to explain it,
it's
but
kind of like an energy harvester.
exactly, yeah. And
But
it's messing with the frequencies and energy,
and
and which is
there's more of them. There's more
yeah,
than
oh
just
yeah.
there's mini CERNs all over the world. So they're doing
Mhm.
those. They're opening those too, by the way,
Mhm.
on the
Yeah,
same.
that's right.
So
So
it's
yeah.
something to be afraid of, though, and that's what I'm trying to say is like we're gonna be receiving some amazing energy from this event, and they just want to scare us to keep us from actually receiving it. They want us to keep us
Mhm.
in a state of fear so they can harvest the fear energy instead of allowing us to receive the good um, energy, that the good healing energy that we're going to be
But they're
receiving.
trying to counteract the good
Yes,
high energy, by chucking a load of low frequencies through, and
absolutely.
whatever tools they've got, CERN and energy weapons and
It's
God
not
knows
going to
whatever.
work, though. It's not going to
Yeah,
work.
it's not going to work. Yeah,
It's
they
such
can
a
try.
pathetic attempt, really. It's so I just find
They,
it. I
they
find it
can't.
hilarious, to be honest.
Exactly. They can't stop this ascension. They can
It's
try and
pathetic.
slow it down, but it
Yeah.
backfires. It always
Oh,
backfires
it's
because,
going to backfire big time. And
yeah.
what I highly recommend, and I don't, for people just anytime, not just for this event, but for any time, do go to the sunset or the sunrise. Attend it on a regular basis. Watch the sun go down. Watch the sun come up because there is some amazing healing energy. And transformative energy that comes through at those moments. I see little rainbow rays almost on the regular that come out of the sun. These beautiful, gorgeous rainbow rays, and it's incredible. Almost
It is, and obviously you know this. It upgrades us. It activates our DNA on a cellular basis. You know, it's upgrading. It recharges us. It helps clear away any low frequencies or any yuckiness, low vibrations in us, and just energies. It clears it up, clears it out. Especially when you do the deep breathing as well. Breathe in the light. You can sun gaze, you can look at the sun with either your eyes open, but it's not everyone's belief, but there's certain times that you should look at the sun and certain times you shouldn't. It can be damaging.
Right. I
but
would
do your
do
own
it like
research on that.
when it's just about to set is what I'm talking about. Not when it's like up in the sky still, but when
I've tried that. You're like that. Oh,
ouch.
your
If
eyes
it hurts,
screaming.
don't look. But it doesn't hurt. You will notice it doesn't really hurt when you're watching it go down. And if it does, just glance away for a couple seconds and look back. It's not going to hurt you. Just it never hurts me. And I've been doing it for a very long time. So just to let you know. It's probably a lot better than looking at your phone all the time.
Oh,
We look at our phones constantly, and that does a lot more damage to our eyes than looking at the sunset. So,
yes, it really does.
Want to put that out there.
No, I love it. And I'm just trying to think now. Is there anything else you want to share?
I can't think of anything offhand. I'm going to try to edit this video so that we have pictures of what we're talking about. I haven't done it with this platform before. We're using StreamYard instead of Zoom, and that's why I'm not just using screen share, because we don't have that option. But it's going to be. I'm going to try to do it with CapCut, as we use that a lot, and it's actually really good. I highly recommend CapCut for anybody who's doing videos. And we'll work it out, and then in the link to the description link I'll be putting in some links to some of these sites that I'm talking about, where you can find this information and these pictures, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's a big rabbit hole, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I never even heard of that. Is it Yandex? Is it?
Oh, Yandex. Yes.
Yandex.
YANDEX. Highly recommend it. It's really a great browser.
So I'll be using that from now on myself. So because a lot of the things that I used to be able to find on Google years ago it's just non-existent now. It's completely been taken over.
Well, there's a thing also called the Wayback Machine that you can type in to Google, and it'll take you back to things that they've taken off. That's another little trick if you want to find something that's no longer on Google. Wayback Machine is what it's called, and it'll take you back to something that they've removed.
I know, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because then if you share bits of information with people, they'll be like, well, the news hasn't spoke about it, it's not on Google, so it's not real. And it's like, no, they control Google, they run Google, but anyway.
Megacorps, look it up, people. Megacorps. Corpse, the word corpse is very interesting. It's not spelled the same, but it kind of means corporations and corpses, very similar. They want to turn us into corpses.
They do,
spiritual and physical corpses. So don't trust them, please, people. I know that there's a lot of people out there, and I know they really do believe all this stuff is fine, and that there's no reason that we're all a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and that there's no reason to not trust things. But when you start seeing other people getting affected by it, and maybe it even affects you and your own family, and you see how what they're doing to humanity, then you can't deny it. I mean, just just kind of like think about how it's affecting these corporations and what they've been doing. And it's really terrible, and we need to do something about it. And we can do it without having to do any harm to anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah, it's very important. And yeah. So I think, shall we end it on that? Yeah, because there's quite a lot of information in there. I've really enjoyed it. We can always do another segment anyway, whenever. We've done a few videos, haven't we, together? And I'm sure we're going to do a lot more in the future, talking about different things. Maybe we can have like a little conspiracy corner thing, you know, and talk about, have a bit of fun, and
That would be so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. I
Popcorn.
feel a little, so I just want to apologise if I seem a little bit bleh and a little bit lifeless and flat. It's because I am. It's because Mercury retrograde is kicking my backside. So as it is with all of us, and so yes, so that's why I'm a bit, you know.
Light
But
coats, go watch a sunset.
yeah,
It'll help
well,
you.
it's a bit hard
I,
here in the UK. But you
I'm
know,
sorry, I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
whenever the cloud, maybe when the clouds move and I get like maybe a few seconds, I'll be like that out the window, poof, and then, oh, it's gone again. I've got to wait, poof.
I wonder, I don't know if it works if you watch it on your phone or if you watch it on a monitor, if it negates the power of it, but I still feel like you might get something from it,
If you do, it'd be a placebo effect, I think.
Right. So maybe,
Yeah.
and so I go do a search for sunsets,
Mm.
Um, I have a lot of them.
Or
I have a
there's
lot.
a lamp that I want to get, and I think it's, what's it called? It's like a vitamin D lamp light. It's a
Oh,
light, and it kind of, it's meant to like mimic the sunlight.
nice.
Um, so you stick it on, plug it in, and you sit in front of it for this. They say not for too long. I think say, I don't know, anything from 10 to 20 minutes. Any longer than
Yeah, that's
that,
all you
you're
need.
having you over D on vitamin D. Even though you don't really when you're in the real sun, but obviously this is slightly different somehow. Maybe it's stronger. I don't know. But anyway, I've been looking into that. So if any of you want to look into that, if you need a boost, not just because of the light and the energy, but it's good to top up on your vitamin D, especially if you have low moods, which I do. Lack of
What about
sun, I
salt
guess.
lamps? Does that work?
Salt lamps, that just I think that just ionizes the air. That takes out, like, it clears the air, it draws in moisture. I know that it draws moisture from the air so you can breathe easier. Let me just remember, because this is a long time and I did my research on this.
I think
uh,
it's supposed to help with
it
your,
boosts, yeah, it boosts your mood
yeah.
mood moods, and yeah, it does some good things. Yeah, can't remember the exact words. It was a long time ago, guys, when I did the research. But yeah, it's very good. But it doesn't give you the vitamin D, but
It's
it
not the
does give
same though.
you. It's good for. It gives you that little serotonin boost, I think. Yeah,
Right.
serotonin or dopamine or something, one or the other, or both. I don't know, but it does something. So as you can tell, I'm just like, I'm struggling. Like, it does that. Have you noticed that? Or at least for me anyway. I think it's because I'm a Gemini as well, and that's our ruling sign, as well as I think it's Pisces ruling planet, if I remember. It's Gemini and something else, another sign. So anyway, we all obviously struggle with it. It affects us all anyway, regardless what star sign you are. But for some reason, if you're a Gemini, we really struggle with our words, which I do struggle sometimes anyway, with trying to explain things, but I'm working on that. But
Uh,
anyway,
I think another thing that might help too is taking a bath in essential oils.
yes, yeah.
I've been feeling like, well, the past few weeks I've been leading up to this eclipse, I have been very, very tired, very
Mm,
drained. Drained is
yeah,
one word, just like
yeah.
drained.
It literally feels like your life force is being sucked out of you by a straw. And you feel like
Yeah,
just drained. Yeah. I don't know
yes.
why I did that face. That was cringe, but
like a noodle, like I just want to
Yeah,
be
it
down.
reminded me of Hocus Pocus with the witches with the children, and they're sucking in their energy, and the children just sort of
Yeah,
shrivel up. I feel like that. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like we're being harvested, like they're trying to harvest.
Oh God, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, the essential oils, the whatever you can do that is super high vibe that
mm,
can keep them at bay with that whole loosh crap. Watch some things that make you laugh.
mm.
Um, Talk to Zoe because she makes me laugh.
Pull faces, whatever. Each to
Yeah,
their own.
right. And yeah, just it'll keep them away, I think.
Yeah. It's a great way, isn't it? To, obviously laughter, it automatically just it elevates your frequency. So then when your frequency is elevated, you've got that protective barrier, your aura is strong, your energy is strong, and in any lower frequencies or outside sources, any enemies, entities, whatever shape, form, they are, because there's all sorts, they have a harder time. They have a harder time penetrating and getting in. So it's like our defense. And so this is why we have to be responsible for our energy, including me. I've been a little bit laxy-daisy lately with my energy, and that's fine. I'm working on that. In fact, I might meditate myself tonight, and yeah,
Yeah.
and try
That's what
and
I'm gonna do for the
yeah.
eclipse. I'm gonna meditate.
Yes, yeah,
Another thing that just
yeah.
struck me was talking when we're talking about laughter is
Mm.
that I noticed, like the baddies, they like to use laughter as ridicule. Like they don't
Yeah,
their you can tell the difference between a high vibe comedian and a low vibe comedian because the low vibe
yeah.
ones like to ridicule people, like to make fun of people and
It's
make
that
them less
meanness,
than,
isn't it?
make
Their
them feel,
intentions is that meanness for me.
yeah, make them feel small or less than. And the ones that are more high vibe don't do that. They just laugh, they just make you laugh, and
Mm.
so ridicule, if somebody ridicules me, if you laugh at them ridiculing you, it actually kind of takes the air out of their tires.
It backfires, isn't it? It
Yeah,
backfires. Yeah.
yeah. If you just laugh at it like, oh, that's it doesn't affect me, I don't care. It takes the air out of their tires. So
Yeah. They don't like it.
they do not.
Or there's a meme that I love. Whenever you smile, a reptilian goes hungry. I love that.
Now,
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
that was we were ridiculing them, but it's still it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good
I
kind of
love it.
ridicule.
Yeah, exactly. We can do it. We can do it just as bad, just as much, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. Right. So shall we end this then, and let's get it edited, and of course
Yes.
whenever you want, because I think you're. Are you doing? I think you're doing the editing anyway.
I
But anyway,
guess I'm gonna try my best because I've never
yeah,
done a
I'll
stream
help
on.
you out anyway. I'll
Yeah,
help you out.
right.
So yeah.
But it'll be
So
fun.
it will be. Right. So I'm going to say bye to my subscribers. Thank you for watching, me and Linda. And yeah, check out Linda's channel, and Linda's subscribers, check out my channels, and, vice versa, if you like what you see. And yeah, and just, show a little support, a little thumbs up or a nice little comment, anything. You don't have to. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. And myself and I guess Linda will speak to you all soon in a new upload. So take care, guys. Look after your energy, and we will speak soon. Love you all. Bye.
Love you.